Have you heard that Airbnb, eBay and Vinted now have to share people's personal data with HMRC? Why? Does the taxman want to know what size t-shirts we're selling on eBay in case they fit him? No. The taxman is now coming down heavy on people who earn more than £1,000 a year on eBay, Airbnb or Vinted. Surely, it'd be easy if the taxman just went after all these CEOs and the shareholders who own these companies who make billions from them and pay less than 1% tax. Well, they're just going after the people they can find. Hey, where are you going? I'm off to set up 7 different names on eBay to 7 different offshore accounts before HMRC can get their hands on my £12 profit.
Just thought I'd come in here quickly just to talk about this side hustle tax that the UK are now introducing. What's your guys' thoughts on this? Me personally, I just feel like the one little piece of money that we're making on the side, you now want to tax that as well. This is why it's even more important to just open up a stocks and shares ISA, because it's one of the only things that the UK are giving you where you can't get taxed. But more importantly, personally, I just feel like you just got to get your money and get out of this country. Don't get me wrong, the UK does provide a lot of opportunity, but they just want to tax you left, right and centre. What's your guys' thoughts on this?
Rach here. Today's the day the government are going to crack down on people innocently selling clothes, etc. on eBay and Vinted for pence. Have you seen how much you sell for on Vinted? The government wants to bear down on tax evasion. Meanwhile, it's estimated the 2,000 largest businesses in the UK may owe £34.8 billion in tax. £34.8 billion in tax. And they're going to tax me for a £15 coat. So in March, when they drop the tax rates, which obviously they're going to do in preparation for the election, they're taking it, giving you it with one hand and taking it back off you. They don't care about you, me, just themselves.
Goods on eBay, on a variety of other platforms. Let's say you're selling old clothes. Let's say you're, selling a book collection or whatever it may be. Now, if you sell more than £1,000 worth on one of these platforms over the course of a year, the company will have to inform the tax authorities. They'll have to inform HMRC. Now, this just strikes me as being absolutely bonkers because let's say you've got a dress collection that you've paid quite a bit of money for, but you think, you know what, I'm getting a bit old for that. I'm going to sell it. And you might sell it for, 1,500 quid or a couple of thousand, but who knows what you might sell it for. Then you're going to be reported to the tax authorities. Now, we've been assured by leading accountants that this potential tax is only designed at those people that are designated as traders, those people that are regularly buying and selling things on eBay or any other platform. But frankly, once the tax authorities have been told that you've earned a couple of grand here, a couple of grand there, I wouldn't trust them not to simply put this money on your bill, and you've then got to go through an accountant, spend money on the accountant and try to get a rebate. It seems to me we're being taxed on selling goods that we've already bought with taxed money. It's a risk of double taxation. Why would we do something so ridiculously intrusive? Well, research tells us that once again, it's the great globalist Conservative Party who signed up to this agreement with 27 other countries through the OECD. And it doesn't really matter, does it? Whether it's the UN, the OECD, the ECHR, we still, despite it being Brexit Britain, we still have a Conservative Party and a government who are more than prepared to sign up to global agreements. It really isn't good enough in my view.
New scam alert, and this time the culprit is actually HMRC. Did you know that if you now earn over £1,000 a year by selling unwanted items like clothes on online platforms such as eBay, Depop, Vinted, you actually have to pay income tax on it? In the current cost of living crisis, people are just trying to make a bit of extra income, yet they're always being taxed. They're being taxed on sales that they're actually making a loss from, because obviously when you sell secondhand clothes, you're very rarely going to make more money than what you originally bought it for. How is it fair to tax the people that are just trying to survive and make a bit of extra income for their family when you have big global corporations that are, albeit legally, trying to save millions and millions of pounds of taxes through loopholes? How is it that the average person is being penalised just by trying to make a bit of extra money? What are your thoughts?
But the reason why I've jumped on is because this whole massive hoo-ha and people panicking about HMRC and about these new tax laws that are coming in that are connected with Etsy, Vinted, eBay, all of that jazz. There's a lot of creators spreading lots of misinformation, which is then leading to people going into panic mode. So these apps are brilliant for information, but just because somebody says something and has an opinion doesn't necessarily mean that it's factual. So I would advise anybody who regularly sells on those sites to jump onto the HMRC website, because there's lots of information on there, including examples. But fear not, if you are just somebody that is clearing out your wardrobe, you buy lots of clothes, every couple of months you have a clear out, you put stuff on Vinted or eBay, wherever, you are not going to be penalised. You can earn, I think, up to £6,000, I think it is. But even then, if you're selling clothes at a loss, this isn't going to affect you. This is, they're going after people that are treating it as a business. So they're buying clothes on the cheap, they're then selling them on for a profit. So people that are earning probably, I don't know, in excess of like £500-600 a month, they're the people that they're going after, which in my opinion is disgusting, because they are not the people that HMRC should be putting their resource money into. It's the big corporations, which is where we're going to get millions upon millions of pounds worth of tax, and rich people that have got very clever tax and account people that hide and stash all of their money. But anyway, that's another subject. But if this hasn't made sense and you're worried, don't worry, just go on to HMRC, have a read through of everything, because I promise you it will not affect you.
Right, let's talk tax on reselling. If you're in the UK, you get £1,000 each year as a trade allowance. So that means you can earn up to £1,000 in additional income and not pay any tax on it. But that is income as a whole. So if you buy stock for 500 quid, but you make £1,000, that stock price doesn't come off that. It's the £1,000 that you will then pay tax on after that. But if you spend £500 on stock but make £2,000 and you pay your tax on that, you can take your £500 off that, so you will then pay tax on £1,500 of it. So you can earn up to £12,570 in a year without paying any tax on it, and then £12,570 to £50,270 you pay 20% tax on that. If you earn over £50,270 in a year, then you will be in the higher tax rate bracket. So if you've got a normal job and you pay income tax on that, so that will all be sorted with your payroll team at work. And then above that, you'll have to do a self-assessment tax return. And you have to register as self-employed by October of the following tax year that you've earned that money in. So if you start doing any side hustling, anything like that, before March next year, you will have to register as self-employed before October next year as well. If you've got any other questions, then hit me up, because I'm a nearly qualified accountant. I'm only, 2 exams away. So I'm qualified enough to tell you about this, and all the stuff's readily available online, but this isn't personal tax advice. This is just stuff that's readily available online, but I'm trying to just put it out there a bit, because I've seen quite a lot of questions really recently on tax and how that works on side hustles and reselling and that sort of stuff. So if you've got any questions, just put them in the box and I'll do a bit of a series on it if people will find it useful.
So as of now, HMRC will be doing tax investigations on anyone who fails to declare their income, so through sites like Vinted, eBay, and all the rest, Airbnb, etc. So this is a new rule that they took into place from the 1st of January 2024. However, this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because HMRC can then investigate your current tax affairs, and if they open up an investigation, they have the ability to then backdate that investigation and go back in time. This means that if you have sold on eBay for the last 10 years, selling your stuff and making 5,000 every year, then they could tax you on the 50,000 that you've made over the past 10 years. Now, there's a big difference between reselling, so being a reseller trader, or just selling things that are lying around in your house that you want to sort of get rid of. That scenario where you're just trying to get rid of stuff that's lying in the house is not something that's called trading. Trading is when you are an actual reseller. So say, for example, you buy lots of things from different places and then you decide to sell them regularly on a monthly basis. So say, for example, you are reselling mobile phones. You buy a mobile phone secondhand, fix it up, and then sell it on. That is a reseller, and that is your day-to-day job that you do constantly. That is where HMRC are looking at traders and trying to find out if they are actually trading on Vinted, eBay, etc., and reselling as their day job or their side hustle. And if that is the case, then they will need to declare that income to HMRC. So if you are just selling old stuff, so like my mum sells all our old stuff from back in the day that's sitting in the garage, she will not be questioned on that because that's not her full-time job. It's not her, she's not trading in it. She's just selling old things that are in the house to get rid of them, and hopefully they can be useful for somebody else. So I hope that answers the question, and also take into account your personal allowance. So you do have 12,570 personal allowance every year. So if you are below that, you will not have to pay tax. So do just declare that if you don't have any other income.
Okay, if you're one of the many people who use the likes of Vinted, maybe use eBay, maybe even sell a service like Airbnb, this is what information they will be sharing about you to HMRC. So there's been a little bit of confusion about what has changed then. Recently, if you sell 30 or more items or you reach £1,700 within the year, a couple of days ago was the deadline for those types of apps like Vinted to be sharing that information with HMRC. However, you'll only be taxed if you have been trading. So if this is for business. So like if you've been buying clothes or buying items to then resell for profit, or maybe you've been making items, making clothes for profit, then that is when you'll be taxing them, because that's considered basically a business. But it doesn't apply to you if you're basically clearing out your wardrobe. The only thing that's changed at the moment, a couple of days ago, it was the deadline for the likes of these apps to be submitting the information, and on some cases you'll be getting a notification on the app to tell you you've passed the 30 items, you've passed the £1,700, so to fill out a form. But that information must be shared. It doesn't mean you have to pay tax for them or on them if you have been clearing out your wardrobe. You do not pay tax on items that you have simply been clearing out, but you do pay tax on items that you've specifically bought to make a profit on.
Your boss might not know about your side hustle, but HMRC does. And if you earn a combined over £1,000 across any of these platforms, you need to declare it by the 31st of January. Here is exactly what HMRC knows about your online income. Platforms like eBay are now required to share sales data to HMRC, especially if you're selling over 30 items or have a combined income over £1,700 a year. If you're making money from TikTok Creator Fund or TikTok Shop, HMRC knows, and it's taxable income. With the new data sharing rules, they're in the loop for everything. Another one, if you're selling clothes on Vinted or Depop, these aren't exempt. Combined earnings over £1,000 need to be accounted for and reported to HMRC. If you're renting your room on Airbnb, HMRC knows about that too. HMRC ensures rental income doesn't slip through the cracks. All of their data is collected and more comprehensive than ever. So you need to make sure that you're declaring what you earn online. Make sure you're staying informed and staying compliant. In my next video, I'll talk about the benefits of an accountant.
Morning guys, so I've been doing a lot of research around this and watching a lot of other videos, and I've been on the HMRC website and everything like that. So if you are selling your own items, you're having a clear out, you're putting them on, that is absolutely fine, because the reason you have to pay tax is if you are making a profit. If you've bought your own items for £20 and you're selling them for £5 or anything less than the £20, you're not making a profit. So if you're selling your own items after having a clear out, that's absolutely fine. If you decide to turn it into some sort of business where you're making a profit, so for example, you buy a bundle of clothes for £25 and you sell them for more and you make a profit, that is when you would have to make a tax account if you make over £1,000 in 1 year. That is the difference. So all the money that I made up until probably the end of December is all okay because I was selling my own clothes. After that, I've decided it's gone so well. I've got an eye for plus size clothes that people want to buy. I'm going to start doing something with it. So now from January, I will add that profit that I've made from those items to my self-assessment tax return when I'm in the right year. So that will be when I do them in April. I hope that's cleared things up. And in Martin Lewis we trust, and I saw a video where he basically explained it. If you're having a clear out, you're selling your own stuff, that's not taxable. If you're buying stuff to resell and making a business out of it and making a profit out of it, once you've earned £1,000, that becomes taxable profit.
Been a huge misunderstanding about this on social media a lot, and certainly I've read some newspaper pieces that didn't get it right. So this is about, people call it online selling tax. International rules, OECD rules, mean digital platforms will now need to share information with tax authorities, the HMRC in the UK. From the 1st of January, they started collecting data, and they'll have to share that by January next year, which means they're collecting data for the calendar year 2024. The data will be passed on if you sell over 30 items in a year or you earn over €2,000, so about £1,700 at the moment. So if you sold 30 items and they only added up to £200, the data would be shared. And this could be at eBay, Etsy, Vinted, Airbnb, or lots of other digital platforms. Now, many have got confused hearing that, but you need to be clear, the tax rules haven't changed. The reporting rules have, the tax rules haven't. And the most important thing I can say to you is if all you do on these sites is you do a clear out of your old stuff when you no longer need them. I mean, I had a woman got in touch with me on social media worried because she was selling her old baby stuff and for a couple of £100 because the baby had now grown out of it. I'm going to be taxed. No, you are not going to be taxed. Selling your old stuff, doing the clear out, is not a taxable event. Tax is only due for those who are trading. That's the word, which means making or buying goods with the intent to sell them at a profit. Common parlance, doing a bit of a business or a side hustle. That is taxable. And even if you are trading, you can sell turnover of around £1,000 a year. It has to include platform fees without any tax. If it's above that, then you are, and you've always been eligible to pay tax on the profits. Nothing's actually changing. They're just reporting a bit more. So if you weren't declaring when you should have declared, it may be an issue, but most people just doing a clear out, forget it, carry on.
So now they're coming after your side hustle. If you sell online, rent a room, or even make content, HMRC is watching you, and they will tax you for it. They're calling it a side hustle tax, but let's be real, it's another cash grab. If you sell just 30 items online or make even £1,000 a year from anything, Etsy, Vinted, Airbnb, TikTok, even food delivery, your earnings are automatically reported to HMRC. I mean, think about it, you're just trying to make extra money on the side to survive, maybe selling old clothes, flipping furniture, or growing a small business, but now the government wants their cut. Meanwhile, billion-dollar corporations keep getting their tax breaks. Where's the fairness in that? Remember, this isn't about fairness, it's about control. They know people are struggling with the cost of living, so instead of fixing the economy, they're making it harder for you to get ahead. If they really cared about fairness, why aren't they cracking down on tax-dodging millionaires instead of everyday people just trying to make a living? First they tax your paycheck, now they tax your side hustle. What's next? Taxing you for breathing? It's time to push back before they start taking even more.
A lot of people are actually panicking and thinking, well, if I sell my item on Vinted, will I get taxed? Well, no, they're not after you. What they're after people that have got a trading pattern. They're not after someone who's actually selling maybe 10 things in a period of, 2 months. They are after someone who's selling consistently. So what they're going to be doing is they're going to be taking the data over from eBay, Vinted, processing it, and then they're going to be checking on case-by-case basis. Now, the thing is have they got the manpower to do this?
People are grinding on the side hustles, barely making anything, just trying to survive. And now the government wants more transparency, more money, more pressure on the people who are already struggling to get by. Where does it end?